What is up, YouTube? It is Doc here, Docky Style Gaming, and I am back at it again with another GodFall video for you all today, where we finally got some brand new news about the next major update coming to GodFall. And honestly, it's one of the ones that I think a lot of people have been waiting for. And if you're already seeing right now, you know what this means. So without wasting any more of y'all's time, let's hop straight into this video because there is a lot to break down. So thanks to the official Twitter and blog post, we got our first official look and teases at the new Valorplate rework that will be coming with the next major free update to GodFall. And if we take a quick look right here, you're already seeing what we're going to be getting into. In this blog post, they didn't go over all 12, they went over 4 of them. They went over the ones for Armistice, the main poster boy himself, Silvermane, the Poison Queen Mesa, and then the ultimate damage dealing weak point Valorplate Illumina. And I am so hyped to get into Illumina, but let's just go over this one piece at a time. So the blog post pretty much starts by saying, "Greetings Valorian, on behalf of the entire team at Counterplay, thank you for coming with us on our journey through Hyperion. Thanks to the feedback and the guidance from you, our players, we forged a stronger and more engaging Godfall since we launched over a year ago. One of our many aspirations with Godfall's gear system was create a Tinkerer's Dream, a deep and engaging toolkit for creating builds that resonate with each and every player's unique playstyle. After the release of the Primal and Curse gear last year, we were excited to see the variety of builds shared on our Reddit, Discord, and YouTube communities. But when it comes to a Tinkerer's Dream, one point of feedback we've been keen to address since the launch is the roles of your Valor plates and its lack of unique gameplay identity. We took a cautious first steps by updating our element system with the Lightbringer update, allowing each Valor plate to use their elements for different purposes, whether it was playing as Typhon to chill enemies and slow its speed, or playing as Mobius to curse enemies and reduce damage output. Since then, we've been eager to take the first steps to address their feedback further. That's why we're going to talk about Valor plates today, and absorbing months of feedback and suggestions, we are ready to fulfill that power fantasy all of you Valorian Knights are craving. And with that, it says, introducing Valorplate Shards. Now, Valorplate Shards are going to be what's going to be giving all of our Valor plates our new abilities. Now, again, in this video, they're only going to go over 4 of them, but each Valor plate will have 4 unique abilities that they'll be able to use that will definitely change the way you play some of them. And like I said, for me, in Illumina's case, it's going to make me actually want to play them even more. So let's just break down all of the Valorplate Shards introduction, and then we'll go over each of the shards for each of the Valor plates. So it starts by saying that Valor plates have always had a core mechanic or element that they focused on, along with a unique augment constellation and powerful archon ability. Despite this, there weren't enough game changers in each Valor plate's playstyle, and as a result, the moment-to-moment gameplay loop for each Valor plate felt too similar. Now it says, introducing Valorplate Shards, which are next major update. Players will be able to unlock 4 unique shards per Valor plate. Each shard contains a power that will transform the combat experience in ways that set each Valor plate apart. Now, it says, in this blog post, we'll unveil the shards of 4 Valor plates, with more following in the upcoming weeks with additional blogs. Now, please keep in mind that this information, the numbers, visuals, or descriptions are not final and are subject to change before the update goes live, but let's dive in, which we definitely will. So, let's start with the poster boy himself, Silvermane. Again, we are going to be breaking down all 4 of the different Valorplate shards for each of the Valor plates, and we got a video for at least all of their very first shards to see it in action. So before we start breaking all of them down, let's take a first look at Silvermane's first shard in action. So that was Silvermane's Roar of the Righteousness. Now, if you don't know what was happening, we're going to break it down, even though it is pretty self-explanatory to see. But again, that's what I'm here for. Let's go over each of this and dissect it. Now, aside from the dope-ass new banner skin that I just saw, and brand new weapon as well, let's talk about the actual Roar of Righteousness Valorplate Shard. Now it says the banners will become supercharged whenever you perform a polarity attack within the banner aura. Supercharged banners grant X amount of weapon technique charge speed, polarity attack charge speed, and shield charge speed. So in the gameplay, we saw that Silvermane dropped his banner. When he dropped his banner, he used his polarity attack to pull out his hammer. Once his hammer was out, he started spamming his weapon technique with his hammer like crazy. Again, you could go back and rewatch it, but essentially they go hand in hand. Whenever you place a banner and perform a polarity attack, your banner becomes stronger. Now, on top of your banner becoming stronger, your supercharged banners will also increase your weapon tech charge speed, polarity attack charge speed, and shield charge speed. So if you have a banner that already grants this, on top of supercharging it, on top of using a Valorplate like Silvermane, which is all about his charge speeds, yeah, his spam is going to be ridiculously infinite. Now, a main reason why I'm hyped for this is because my current build for Silvermane is already a spam Silvermane weapon technique build. So just thinking about this very first shard on my current build is going to be stupid strong. So I cannot wait personally to use this and see this in action on my build, because I feel like it's going to be pretty crazy and insanely spam heavy. Like, there's always been those builds in games where it's just like, how did this even happen? Like, why are we able to do this in game? And I feel like with all these Valorplate shards being introduced to the game, there will be builds that will be like that crazy, where it's just like, why am I able to do this in game? So I can't wait to see what some other people's builds are going to be, and I can't wait to make some builds of my own, because again, some of the stuff is just crazy and it's definitely game changing. Now, the next Valorplate shard for Silvermane is called the Lionheart Technique. It says whenever you defeat an enemy with a weapon technique, an enemy drops X amount of weapon technique orbs that you can pick up. It says each orb grants weapon technique charge speed for X amount of seconds. So again, we are all about keeping that weapon tech spam insanely high. And if you want to build for high weapon technique damage too, ooh, like I've always said, Silvermane is probably the most versatile Valorplate in game, meaning you can really build it however you want to. And with all of the new Valorplate shards and all of these new abilities coming into play in the game, yeah, he's going to be pretty crazy in terms of builds. Now, the third Valorplate shard they went into is called the Shield of Courage. Whenever you perform a shield ability, you have X amount of chance to restore all of your shield charge and gain X amount of damage on your next shield ability. So again, more charge speed and more damage as well. Again, Silvermane is going to be a spam master. It's ridiculous. And I cannot wait to see how infinite some of his builds will be. Now, last but not least, we have the Way of the Lion Valorplate shard. Now, which makes this unique is that it introduces a brand new gameplay mechanic that every Valorplate in the game seems like it's going to be having. Now, it says that X amount of weapon technique damage you deal is stored in a Vengeance meter. Now, whenever you perform a charged heavy attack, it expends your Vengeance meter to unleash a shockwave that deals equal damage to the amount expended. Now, this is already dope because it's even more damage that you'll be able to deal. But as we go on through some of these Valorplate shards, each Valorplate's Vengeance meter works in different ways, but essentially are all about dealing extra damage in some sense. So, like I've always said, with higher damage, hopefully that means we have higher challenges as well. Because as fun as these builds are going to be, I still don't want to start the game off day one and just wreck shop with everything. So I hope there's still a challenge and an increasing difficulty to utilize all of these new abilities for all of the Valorplates coming in game. Now, moving on to the next Valorplate, we have the girl Illumina. Again, this Valorplate puts in work. I've always said this in every stream. People always ask me, what's the strongest Valorplate in the game? Now, granted, it's very, personal preference, but weak point damage is incredibly strong in the game if you build for it properly. And before Consume was even introduced, weak point damage was the way to go. I remember all of the surety builds out there, and if you are an OG player, you know what I'm talking about. Weak point damage was the way to go, and Illumina was all about her weak point damage. So even to this day, I used to be able to see people one-shot bosses with weak point builds. So to me, in my opinion, weak point damage is still king, even with consume builds out there. So Illumina for me is still OG damage dealing Valorplate in game. Now, with that being said, all of her new Valorplate shards are about to make her incredibly broken. And I hate to say that before it even comes out, because I am hoping they don't change anything. But again, whenever I'm reading these, I go into like literally Godfall Tinkerer mode, and I'm like, how can I make this Valorplate play like this? How can I change this? And we're about to get into it. So first, let's just take a look at her first Valorplate shard in action, and then we'll break down each of these Valorplate shards, and I'll let y'all know why I'm so hyped to mess around with Illumina. So again, I'm going to break it all down for y'all so y'all know what's actually happening. But the ability that we just saw in action is called the Stone of Brilliance. Whenever you hit a weak point, you fill, again, your Vengeance meter. Whenever you use a life stone, when your Vengeance meter is full, it expends your Vengeance meter, and you and nearby allies gain X amount of overhealth for X amount of seconds. So this is actually very unique because it kind of turns Illumina into somewhat of a support Valorplate for both you and your team. So this is already like great in my opinion for having a Valorplate that already deals so much damage but can now be utilized in team builds as well, rather than just going in and solo damaging everything. She actually has a bit more versatility with her builds, and with that it means you could potentially spec into some other things that also give you some additional overhealth or extended overhealth, more overhealth, and things like that, whether it's overhealth retention or just other stuff. So I am very happy to see this because that is a pretty dope ability for a damage dealing Valorplate that turns her into somewhat of a semi-support. Now, the next ability is the one I am most hyped for, especially paired with the third Valorplate shard. But the second Valorplate shard is called Illumination Technique. Shield throw hits count as weak point hits. Whenever you hit an enemy with your shield throw, you gain a weak point charge that grants X amount of weak point damage. And there are max amount of charges that you can get, meaning you can deal crazy weak point damage. Now, even taking out the shield throws that gain charges, if we took that out of the mix, the fact that every shield throw is a weak point hit, if you have high shield charge speed or just even shield consume builds, the amount of damage you will be able to deal with Illumina is just astronomical. Like, again, just thinking about it with my build or what I want to do with Illumina, it's like that Illumina is going to be crazy. Like, Illumina is going to be stupid strong, I feel like, already. So I cannot wait to just use this ability with her Valorplate shard and just go shield heavy. And it's great because, again, that's one of the things you don't see in a lot of my builds on the channel. I don't really focus on using my shield, like, at all. Like, honestly, my most recent build with Typhon is the first build I've actually utilized my shield. So now that I have a reason to, yeah, this is going to be very, very interesting to build for. Now, moving on to the next shard, we are taking a look at what's called the Duelist Banner. Now, again, this tied with the Illumination Technique is pretty OP. Now, the perk of the Duelist Banner says your banner unleashes a shockwave for X amount of seconds that deals X amount of damage and reveals enemy weak points. Now, it also says whenever you hit a weak point while within your banner aura, it extends the duration of your banner by X amount of seconds. So not only do your banners now deal damage per second while it's out, but it also reveals weak points, and whenever you hit a weak point, you extend the duration of your banner. Now, this is cool on its own, but again, if we go right back to shield throws, every shield throw counts as a weak point. You will be able to essentially extend the duration of your banner for a crazy amount of time, keeping your banner on the ground that unleashes a shockwave that deals damage to enemies and consistently reveals their weak points for your team as well to deal extra damage to. Like, those two abilities together, I don't even know what else to say. Like, if y'all aren't grasping the concept of damage with this, Illumina is about to be crazy. Again, Hinterclaw has been my main for the longest time, but I cannot wait to mess with Illumina, and that's why I'm most hyped for her changes, because Illumina has been one of the Valorplates I just haven't touched in the game. Like, I mean, I've messed around with her, but Illumina and Vertigo, and honestly, up until recently, Typhon, were the three Valorplates I never cared for too much. And it's not because they're bad or anything like that. It's just Illumina, I know she's a very specific build, because again, she focuses primarily on weak point damage. So I didn't really want to mess around and just like do very specific builds. I like builds that I can have a bit more versatility with. And then the elements from both Vertigo I didn't care for, and Typhon as well. That's why even with my Typhon build, I did Fire and Ice, because I wasn't a fan of just the chill proc. So now that I have an excuse to mess with Illumina, this might be the first time that I go all in with Illumina, and she might become a main on my channel. So I am very hyped with just these two abilities alone, but also this one as well to heal your enemies. Whenever you hit a weak point, you charge your meter, and your shields all count as weak points. And then when this is out, your banner's out, you refill weak point. Like, it just all works together. This is, man, this build's about to be crazy. Again, I'm just like thinking about the potential and what I can do with it. Yeah, this Illumina is about to be crazy. So I cannot wait for this. Last but not least, though, let me stop gushing over Illumina's build, is called Way of the Sunbird. Whenever you hit a weak point with a heavy attack, you deal X amount of additional breach damage, and whenever you breach an enemy with a weak point, you gain X amount of takedown damage for X amount of seconds. Now, this isn't too game-changing, but it's additional damage on top of all this that all feeds into that too, so that's not too bad. But honestly, these three together, that's all that's on my mind. But this is also a really good one to use as well. Now, next, we are going to take a look at Armistice. Now, we already got a tease of Armistice, and we got a tease of Mesa yesterday. I'm glad I didn't put out that video, because I had a feeling that we'd be getting some new information today, and sure enough, we did. So let's go over Armistice first, and then of course, we'll take a look at Mesa last. Now, the video that we're about to check out is, of course, for his first shard called the Earthquake Technique. And again, I actually showed this off on my last Godfall video, but now we have it in better quality, so let's take a quick look at it. So what we just experienced was the first Valorplate shard for Armistice, the Earthquake Technique. Now it says your polarity attack deals X amount of breach damage and creates an unstable ground for X amount of seconds that also deals breach damage per second. Now whenever you perform a takedown on an enemy that's on that ground, it extends the duration of the unstable ground by X amount of seconds. So not only is Armistice all about his breach damage and takedowns, you'll be able to essentially consistently, depending on your build, deal crazy amount of breach damage with Armistice. Not just breach damage, but takedowns. So it works hand in hand with just the first Valorplate shard alone, and I am pretty hyped to see this one in action as well. Ever since I made my Bulwark build, I was like, I don't think I need Armistice anymore because I kind of got that covered. But I am interested to see how much you can spam those takedowns now with a build like this, and how much that breach damage is. And if it's upgradable breach damage, that'd be even crazier. Now his next Valorplate shard is called the Soul Breaker. Whenever you deal soul shatter damage equal to at least X amount of the enemy's max health, you deal X amount of breach damage to that enemy. So they're definitely leaning heavy into legit breach damage. If you thought Armistice was the cheese Valorplate already, he definitely is. And when I say cheese, I don't mean like the food, I mean easy mode. Like, you can cheese through anything with his takedowns. It seems like they're going all in with his breach damage, and takedown. So that's actually pretty good for all of you Armistice mains out there, and I know there's quite a bit. Next, we have the Shattering Banner. It says deal X amount of damage and X amount of breach damage to all enemies within your banner for every X amount of seconds. So again, this is just all tying in with more damage, more breach damage, which means more takedown, which means easier cheese. Because again, as long as you can take down enemies, you're pretty much good to go in this game. It's almost like a free kill, especially if your takedown damage is already very high. So again, Armistice is looking pretty strong too. Again, we don't know how tanky he's going to be, but damage-wise, his potential is up there. So I'm already liking everything I'm seeing from this as well. Now, last, he has the Valorplate shard called Way of the Anvil. Whenever you perform a takedown, you gain a battle charge that grants X amount of takedown damage and X amount of breach damage, and there are max stackable charges is what it looks like. So you'll be able to deal even more increased takedown and breach damage with this as well. And then lastly, it still says whenever you perform a takedown, while you have at least X amount of battle charges, you want to reach a shockwave that deals, you already guessed it, X amount of breach damage. So yeah, it's looking like Armistice is about to be back to his OG ways, where he's just all about takedowns and takedown damage. Again, breach damage is insane also, especially for, again, mid bosses like Thrax, or you could probably kill Thrax before you even fully breach him just with the amount of damage that you're doing. So yeah, Armistice is looking pretty strong. I'm not gonna lie, like damage output, he's looking pretty strong too. So this is pretty dope. I'm super glad to hear this, and again, I know a lot of Armistice fans are going to be very happy to hear about this too. Now, moving on to the last Valorplate, we are going to be taking a look at Mesa. Now, I'm pretty hype about this because I saw the GIF that they posted yesterday. Again, I didn't make a video on it, but I instantly lost my mind. I recently made a Mesa build that's all about poison and crowd control, and it looks like the devs took that into consideration and is truly turning her into a crowd control Valorplate with those poison clouds and poison stacks. So, oh, I cannot wait to even mess around with my build even more. And again, there's going to be some more shield things used with it, so it gives me more of a reason to use my shield as well. But let's take a quick look at the video that was shown, and then of course we'll break it down and then go over her other 3 Valorplate shards. Oh my god. Alright. Like, I remember looking at it yesterday and just thinking the same thing. I can't wait for this, to be honest. She essentially, let's just break down what we saw. So the ability in the clip you just saw was called the Dust of the Earth, which is her first Valorplate shard. Whenever you hit an enemy with a petrifying slam, you deal X amount of bonus earth damage that inflicts poison. Whenever you perform a petrifying slam, it also creates a poison cloud for X amount of seconds that deals X amount of earth damage. And for each enemy hit with the petrifying slam, you gain X amount of poison power while you are within the cloud. So yes, this is what I was wanting out of Mesa. Again, this is what I was attempting to even make with my Mesa build, because again, I know her crowd control potential is insane, but even taking the build I currently have and mixing it with this is going to be insane, because my goal was to have as many enemies explode and just spread poison like crazy. But the fact that now you can just create poison clouds all over the map essentially with petrifying slam, that's about to be insane to poison damage and poison procs. And honestly, that's already one of the best type of elements in the game, especially if you have the God Beast Icor that can spread poison upon enemy death. Oh, Oh, that's such a good ability. Like, that's such a good ability. So yeah, if you haven't messed around with Mesa, first go check out my updated Mesa build because it is godly. But then also start prepping because yeah, this first shard alone is killer. So I cannot wait to mess around with that because we're finally going to get a proper crowd control Valorplate is what it looks like. And then again, a high damage dealing one at that with crazy poison spread. So I'm super happy with the very first Valorplate shard that Mace is going to be getting. Next, we have the avalanche technique, which it says whenever you consume poison, X amount of the damage is stored in, boom, again, your vengeance meter. And it says max X amount of damage. It says whenever you hit an enemy with a weapon technique while your vengeance meter is full, you expend your vengeance meter and deal earth damage equal to the amount of expended and inflicts poison. So again, this is just another way to deal insane poison procs, and poison is not an element that you want to be sleeping on. I know a lot of people like physical damage just because those bleed procs are nice, but poison is another one that is up there. Void's another good one too, but poison is one I feel like a lot of people be sleeping on, and you definitely don't want to because you can stack poison procs like crazy, and those damage ticks are insane. So this is another good one to have as well. Anything that gives you increased earth damage or poison damage is always great. So I'm super happy with that one. Again, with the Mesa, just tying it all together, perfect. Now moving on to the third Valorplate shard, we have an item called Line in the Sand. Whenever you place a banner, you unleash a shockwave that deals X amount of earth damage and inflicts poison. So this is already so good. And then whenever you hit a weak point while you're within your banner aura, you increase the power of each poison stack on all enemies within the banner. So just imagine, like, it's already crazy that whenever your banner is out, you're going to be unleashing shockwave that deals earth damage and inflicts poison per second. But then on top of that, just imagine if you had a Lumina that had her banner out that was always showing enemy weak points that she's continuing to just keep out nonstop. As long as you're hitting those weak points, you're also increasing the poison stacks. And I don't think y'all understand how hype I am for Mesa. Like, Illumina and Mesa's shards are crazy right now. So this is sick. I cannot wait. Now, her last Valorplate shard is honestly one of the most unique in the game for any Valorplate that we know of right now. Because we'll get into it. It says, whenever your Sundering Slam becomes fully charged, consume poison from nearby enemies. If any poison stacks were consumed this way, you unleash a shockwave that deals earth damage equal to the damage dealt. So again, just taking out all of that right now, we'll be able to consume without using any equipment. So no augments that let you consume, no items or gear that lets you consume. This is one of her abilities that will let you consume an element. And consuming poison is already going to be insane with the poison stacks and poison procs. So the fact that we finally have a Valorplate that can consume without using any piece of gear is legit game changing. Now, again, we don't know if it's going to be like that for some other Valorplates because we only have info on 4 of them right now. But this is a big deal because this changes the way you can mess around with your build. Because now you can take off some of those consume items because you'll be able to consume without using those consume items. So Mesa, I'm not sure who all is working on these different, the designs and the abilities, but these are great. Like, these are all killer, and I cannot wait to get my hands on every single one of them and literally just rework all my builds. Try something new, especially with whatever the new game mode's going to be, which, speaking of, I haven't even got into, but clearly every single video we've seen, they all have brand new weapon types in the game. And again, we saw also brand new banners, and some of those weapons look sick. Like, we clearly see Mesa using this dope earth-based hammer, and yeah, or poison, I should say, but I cannot wait to see the type of loot that we're going to be getting along with this Valorplate rework, the new in-game mode. Like, I'm already hyped. So that's everything we got for the Valorplate shards so far. Again, this is only 4 of the 12, and they did say that they'll be showing off more with next blog post. So we'll probably be getting the rest of them before the update, or they might save some for when the update comes out so that we can experience it on our own. But just this alone, I am extremely hyped for. So let me finish up the rest of this blog post, and then let's have a discussion about it in the comment section, because whew, I cannot wait to talk about it in the Discord and the comment section below. But it pretty much ends by saying, we hope you enjoyed this special sneak peek of our new Valorplate Shards launching with our next major update. The team is excited to bring you a new and powerful toolbox to really push the limits of Godfall's combat. Stay tuned to our next blog post where we will deep dive into the role Shards play in the player's loadouts. It says, we have a few surprises that we are eager to fill you in on. And then sincerely, the game director of Counterplay Games. So this is just, yes. The fact that we're finally getting proper Valorplate reworks, like, again, it's nothing that I know a few people will probably want it, like all new Archon abilities. Who's to say that still won't come? Again, they did say that they still have a few surprises that they're eager to fill us in on. So who knows what some of those other surprises on just the Valor plates are going to be. Again, we still know we have a brand new game mode, we have new loot, and which might even be new loot types. Because again, we already have cursed items, we have primal items, maybe it's another set of items, or maybe it's sets of items that benefit our new Valor plate abilities. Maybe all new primaries finally that benefit all of our new Valor plate shards as well. So I can't wait already for what we're getting, and I can't wait for them to fill us in on even more. But that's all I got for this video, guys, because it's already longer than it should have been. But thank you all for watching, and sorry for the whole background. First time I've been back on camera. Again, clearly not in my normal setup because I've talked about it before and I've talked about it on stream. But hopefully y'all enjoyed this video, and hopefully you enjoyed all this new info that we got. I will catch y'all all on the next one. Whew, I cannot wait. Let's, like I said, have a discussion in the comments or the Discord. So if you haven't joined the Discord, link to that is in the video description, along with the link to the Twitch channel as well. Other than that, I will catch y'all all on the next one. I'm out of here, guys. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the subs. Peace.